Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sayvio Daily Market Update for Wednesday, the 23rd of April. I am your host, Ellerman Damble. And ladies and gents, as always, the Sayvio platform is an AI note taking, note sharing platform where you can save and share knowledge from different types of topics. Of course, the topics that we are covering today is going to be markets, financial markets, and in particular, of course, the moves that we saw today in gold, in Bitcoin. As always, I am your host, Ellerman Dambell. And before we do actually get started with the agenda, please take the time to acknowledge the risk warning, which is currently on screen. And ladies and gents, moving straight to it. And before I do, actually, one last thing with the agenda. Make sure that you do like, share, and subscribe as we continue to grow this community on YouTube. But guys, very, very interesting day in markets. Of course, we saw the price of gold earlier on in the week climbing to a record high above 3,500. We are going to move to the charts and look at this in a bit more depth shortly. Bitcoin today rallying to a 7-week high, and of course, Tesla. It's been a very, very tough few months for Tesla owners. I'm not sure if any of you fall underneath that category, but of course, its earnings coming out yesterday, disappointing revenue and earnings per share falling below expected, and we did see some moves there as well. Elon Musk essentially said he is going to be stepping back from Doge in order to help reinvigorate the Tesla brand. But ladies and gents, you didn't come here for all of that. You came here, of course, to see what's going on in the markets, and let's move straight into it. Again, we have to start off with gold. We have to start off with gold. Earlier on this week, we saw, to be honest, the last couple of weeks, of course, if you guys are on the Sayvio.ai platform, one of the spaces that we have there as it pertains to the daily market update. All of the videos are archived on that space with notes, audios, links, essentially an analysis of some of the moves. So, what we have been looking at, to be honest, was the prospect of gold moving back towards this level where it reached this week again, 3,500. Let's break it down. Let's break it down again from a fresh pair of eyes. The time that I saw the opportunity to buy gold, and again, this analysis last week or a couple of weeks ago now, was at that level there. And the reason we decided to initially buy at that price was mainly because if you looked at the RSI uh, in and around that moment, the price of gold was relatively oversold. It was relatively oversold. And I say relatively because you're looking at it from a 42 floor. And historically, we know 30 and below is oversold. But in that instance, 42 had been the floor. We saw the price as well reaching a floor there of around 3K. So we asked ourselves if historically bulls do what they did at that level, could we see what we saw now? Again, guys, the session is archived, so you can see this on the Sayvio.ai website. But essentially, what we saw happen did happen. And of course, at that time as well, even though I was certain there was going to be somewhat of a move there, the question was, could it breach this level here on the RSI? Could it breach that level there of 58 on the resistance of the RSI? And that's when we saw the record high essentially come in. And guys, just quickly moving on, the reason that I'm showing you what we did is to show you what could happen next. So what I do believe now, again, you do see the RSI starting to fall back towards that floor. It hasn't yet fully, it hasn't even reached that floor. We do see a new floor of 58 does exist. The question is, are we gonna potentially fall through that level there, which would mean the price moving below let's say 23 33 3200 Or is it going to remain there, consolidate for a while before moving to further highs? Guys, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if we see further highs coming from gold. A lot of volatility in the market at the moment. Short term, again, as well, I wouldn't be surprised to the same vein if we see a move back towards this level. But I do think for bulls in the room, there is still a lot of upside left in gold. Quickly moving on to Bitcoin again. Bitcoin climbing at to its highest level since the beginning of March. It is somewhat of at a resistance level now. So the question is, what are we going to see? Historically, of course, the last few times the markets have traded in this area, it was an absolute bloodbath. A lot of selling had taken place at that level. The trajectory of moving averages is a bit different because then you could see it was on a cusp, on the precipice of a downwards crossover. Now you see the momentum is somewhat facing the other direction. What I believe we need to look at and pay attention to again, the markets are already overbought rather on the daily time frame. But if you look towards, let's say, a weekly, you see it's a different point of view. So we do have some more upside there on a weekly, a resistance level, pretty much where we are now, around 57.60. But I believe if it is able to pass that 60 point, is when you're going to see Bitcoin moving back above 100K. Ladies and gents, before I let you go, of course, we're talking about Tesla. So a huge reprise from Tesla today. Of course, a lot of selling off over the last few weeks, but Musk essentially saying, okay, fun and games. It's been fun and games being in Doge and trying to reform waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm sure you've heard all of these phrases, these rhetorics. But now we need to get back to work. So that's essentially what Musk said to investors. And of course, we did see how markets have reacted with Tesla climbing, I believe, around 8%, 6% in today, 6 to 8% in today's session. So, guys, that is it for today. We'll be back tomorrow for another daily market update. Again, please do like, do share, do subscribe, ladies and gents, as we continue to keep you up to date with the latest moves in the market. And of course, if you wanted to look at any notes, any charts that we explored in today's session, visit Sayvio.ai, sign up, and you will be able to see all of the notes that we share on that platform. Until next time, all the best. Take care. Bye bye.